So we're working on this second Sundown Audio SAE-1500D, and like I had said in the first Sundown video, I was kind enough to get a few excess amps from another tech, and he'd left me a note on this one saying that it was burning out, or it was melting these two resistors over here off the board. I want to see if I can zoom in. I'll move the amp. There we go. So let me get my pointer. Hey pointer, some pointer, come on pointer. There we go. Ugh. So it was this resistor and this resistor, and these are actually 100 ohms, so it's 100, and the 0 means no more places. Whereas like this one over here, that's going to be a 10 ohm. But Sundown's got a bunch of them in here. They're labeled 101, which means 10 with one more 0 would be 100. So anyway, these were coming off the board. It'd get hot and it'd slide away. So there was so much current going through here, it was making enough heat that eventually these would have a problem. Well, if you look at this circuit, you'll see 4 diodes and a bunch of smoothing caps going up through here, and then going to these 2 transistors, and a little bit of circuitry here to help control them. And what it is this is the plus or minus 15 volt. So coming in over here up at the top is going to be into these diodes, is the couple little pairs of windings that are putting out about 25, plus 25 and minus 25 volts roughly to this circuit. They're going to come in, it's going to change that from AC to DC, those square wave pulses. Going to flow through this. This is your kind of your current shunt, a little bit of voltage drop there to these 2 transistors, and they're using these transistors as regulators to make the plus and minus 15 volts. So here and here you're going to get negative 25 coming in and about positive 25 coming in, and you should get negative 15 out here and positive 15 out here. And so it feeds, let's back up just a little, I'm trying not to make this shake too much, like this TL072 and these what is it, 588 somethings. Let's see, I got a should be a 4558. Sorry. So these, it uses 4 558s all the way down. I'll have to zoom out a little more. So it uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all in the preamp section, where you have your crossover frequency, your gain, your bass boost, your subsonic, your phase inversion. This is the slave master switch to run that out there. Then you have your one of these is these sides line in, that's line out. So that does all your signal processing before it goes to the output section right here, which is these 3 chips all formed together to drive this Class D circuit, high and low side. And so if that's happening, either these are shorted, and I've already taken my multimeter and went across and did not have any dead shorts, or something else is pulling it way down and making them hot. And so I'm going to zoom in. Oh, hang on, we're going to hook our power up over here just so we got power. I'm going to show you a little trick. So we're going to zoom in, and we are going to take some isopropyl rubbing alcohol and a cotton bud. We're going to dip it. See how that makes wet on each one. And I'm doing all of them, but I've got this focused up here. All of them are on. I'm going to turn on my power supply. We're going to power this thing up. Now I'm hearing stuff getting hot. And so we see a couple of them have went dry. We're just going to dab them with IPA again. And you can see the ones I dab again are staying wet, except for that little sucker up there. Put some IPA on there. It's doing okay. It's evaporating off there pretty quick. Let's start dabbing it on there. Can you see it disappear? See if I can zoom in a little more. Oh, wrong way. Sorry for the shake. Let's see if I can move this over here just a little. A little IPA on here. You notice how fast that sucker kind of just disappears. Whereas if I put a little dab on here, see how it stays on there for a long, long time? Just naturally disappears. And this one just goes away real fast. I can touch that and I can feel that that one is good and warm. All these others are cool. So I tested that for shorts, but I couldn't read a short. But I know it's making a whole lot more heat than the others. We'll power it back up. You'll see we're pulling a lot of current. We can even get, we'll just put a dab on that. I mean, she's just evaporating fast. So I think that's our problem. So I'm going to back up here a little. So you can see the multimeter. So if I have the multimeter on voltage and I put my probe here, I should get 30 volts. I'm going to power this thing up and I get about -5. So I can also put my negative lead on one of the center taps of the transformer and try to read here. I'm getting 2.5 and -2.5. So these are getting pulled way down, and I think it's that chip. So using the IPA, I was able to tell what it is. I'm going to carefully try to remove that and see if we get voltage back. So I'm going to shut that all down and give me a minute and we'll be back. Okay, so we've removed the chip right there. And so let's see about zooming out a little. And we will have the power supply is on. We are in voltage mode. I'm going to power it up. Look at that. Look at that power up current. It dropped almost a full amp. We were at about 2.2 amps before. Now it's powered up. I've got a green light saying it's good. If I look at this voltage, we got 14 volt. We got negative 14 volt. All of a sudden, we got good voltage. So I think that was our problem. I don't hear anything frying over here either. Now, that's a little bitty chip, and it's a lot like a TL072, but not exactly. I'm going to see if I have any of the, oh, you can't see it, see if I have any of the correct ones. If not, I'll order some, and through the magic of YouTube, we'll throw that in. But I hope that little trick helps somebody else. If you don't have freeze spray would work too. But sometimes you just need to compare. Since we happen to know that was on the plus or minus 15-volt rail because of where that was and what that was doing. I knew which chips used it, and so I could just watch which ones got hot. Let me look and see if I got one of those chips, and we'll see if we can't get in there. Oh, and the reason why I cut away, my hot air station makes lots of loud blowy noise. So if I'd went in, just added a little solder to help lower the melting point of the solder that was there, added leaded solder, and then hot air removed it. But it would have blown and made all kinds of noise, and I'd either have muted out or put music. I'm trying to do better with my sound quality, so bear with me as I learn how and figure it out. Thanks. Okay, so we needed a 4558 chip, and I've got this old crapper board that a buddy of mine, shout out to Kyle, had let me snag because I wanted the pots and the little switch off of it. It was off a scrapped up amplifier little setup, and it happens to have those chips all on it. And so we're going to steal one because I don't think that they could all be bad. I'll probably take two of them off. I got a JRC one here, and can't tell what brand those are, but we'll take two of them off just in case we need to. So this is pretty awesome. I've got some new ones coming, but I'd like to get that amp up and working. So I wanted to record this to show you what I do to take these off. So I'm going to zoom us in here. Try not to make the camera shake too bad. And let it get focused. Alright, so what I do is I take my soldering iron and I add leaded solder straight to the pins, and then let that cool. We're going to go do this other one. Get a little more solder in there. Let that cool. Don't care if we're bridging the gaps. Make sure I got this in the camera view. Yep. I don't care if we make bridges or nothing. We're just lowering the melting point of those solder connections and getting them hot a little bit so that it's easier to take off with the hot air rework station. So just that. Now this is going to be noisy, but here goes my hot air rework station. We'll get in here, and we're going to start warming up the whole general area of the board. This is a good time to practice on a scrap board. Just that way, if you bubble it, popcorn it, screw it up, you know, something you're salvaging parts from, that's okay. But get used to warming the general area where you're going to take that thing off, and just let it get up to temperature. So hopefully, because we added some leaded solder to all the legs, the chips will desolder first without all these little resistors and capacitors desoldering and blowing away. And that's the other thing you're practicing here, is getting chips on and off without, it's almost there, without blowing all the other components on there. Because if this is a board that we were reworking, we'd want to not have them all blown away and have to fix all them. A lot of times with that leaded solder on there, you can see when everything gets a little melty. It's almost there. We need a little more heat over there maybe. And bam, we've lifted those off. Alright, so scrap board that I'm going to take some other parts off of has helped us out. We'll come over here. And really, we're not concerned about the solder blob that's on there, because the way I'll put it on, it'll fix itself with flux. But if you're like salvaging parts and you're going to be putting them in your drawer, maybe you've set up a test jig to see if they're any good, you can always just touch them with a little solder braid and clean them up just like that. And so now we have two 4558 chips try out on that Sundown amp. And you can see the dot. It's showing up real good in the light here. That would be pin 1. The dot is always by pin 1. They show up real well. So that's how you know. And so we'll go and we'll stick that in. I'll get that amp. We'll put it on. Okay, we got the 1500D, the SAE-1500D Sundown, and we need to replace that 4558 optamp. And so I'm going to actually spin this around so that I can get a little better going here. Let's see if I can zoom you in without getting too crazy. There we go. I think I can do that maybe. So let me get a pointer, something to point, a pair of tweezers. So if you notice right there in the image, let's see if I can zoom a little, oh no, wrong way. That's what you get for watching a goober. So if you notice where this chip is, the drawing shows a notch up here, and that means the 1 pin is going to be up here. It's going to be right there. So we're going to take one of these. We're going to set it in here. Now I've already cleaned the pads area. What we want to do is get some solder and nudge it out of the way here. Put on my specs, and I've switched to a small tip on my soldering iron, pretty small. I'm going to get a little dab of solder on it, and we're just going to get this one pad of solder on it. Now we want to slide that chip over and into place. We ain't even having to take this thing out of the heat sink, although it'd make it easier removing all that stuff. We want to center it up as best we can. Make sure it's on all the pads real good. Push down on it, hit that leg again, and make sure that we're seated fine. We're going to come in and put a dot on our soldering iron. Get that corner right there, just a little bit soldered down. And then come in with some flux. Each side. And more these soldering tips right here hold a blob of solder on that little end so well. They just are perfect for this. So we get that flux to flow. We're just going to hit each leg. Let that cool off for a minute. Make sure we got plenty of solder there. And that flux is going to make it stick to each leg. I'm just going to let that cool for a second. And we'll double check this other side. That looks like I got it. I'll have to inspect it, of course, and that's hard to do with the camera in the way. But we'll zoom back out. I'll take off my specs, grab my little inspection thing. Sometimes I have to have light, but that looks pretty good. We'll get a little bit of IPA and a cotton swab, Q-tip, cotton bud, whatever you call it, where you're at. I need to put on my glasses again. I'm just going to clean up all around this. Clean up all that flux residue. No reason to leave it. That is a no clean flux that I use. It's a Vantec, the 559. Great stuff. It's a tacky flux. So that should have it. I'm going to leave you for 1 second while I hook everything up, and then we'll try to give it a test. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we have power hooked up. I've got my, if you look up in the corner here, I've got my bench power supply up. That 1.8-ish amp current draw is my Alpine radio. That's the memory circuit that would remember the radio stations and stuff, like the yellow wire. You're not going to be able to see down here the power indication. We got a green power light and a red protect light. It should flash the red protect light right off the bat, but up here we're looking to make sure whenever we had a faulty one of these, it was we had over 2 amps of current draw. When we had pulled that out, we were right around 1 amp or so, maybe a little more. So we're looking for it to stay low, not to go up, to 2 amps or anything. It shouldn't. So I'm going to hit my foot switch, and it's going to spike and limit it out. And I've got a green light, and I heard the relay click, and we're at about 1.2. So that means this amp, at idle with nothing, is pulling about an amp. That's good. We could fire up the scope and see if it's got drive on the low side. Possibly here. We'll flip it to AC to see if we can see it. I gotta get my glasses out. Not sure if this is the low side or what, but we're gonna look. Aha. So there is the low side drive. If we look at it, and now if we switch it to DC, no, that's high side stuff, because that's not going down to the low end. There we go. Here's the low side drive. If I can get it to trigger correctly. Oh, going the wrong way there. Get a little better connection. There we go. Okay, now you can see it. And so that's the low side riding on the negative rail voltage. That is looking good. I'm going to check it on all of them. And then this should be the high side switching, or that's the high side voltage. So that's the output there. That's all good. So I think we're safe. Stick it in. Now, the only problem this one had, I'm going to let the power off, find my RCAs. Turn on the radio. Grab some speaker wire. I'm going to just hold this in here for a minute. There we go. That's pretty good. Set my radio up to get us to play a little. I can't remember if I've set all the stuff on this. I think I turned them to check it. Low flat blade screwdriver. Where's it at? Not seeing it. Here's one. Bass boost off, subsonic off, low pass we'll set about right in the middle-ish, level in the middle. This is on master. Flip that phase control back and forth a little there. Okay, it's powered up. Relays engaged. say she's playing. So one thing I like to do is leave it powered on, turn the radio off, unhook the RCAs, make sure there's no sound coming from the subwoofer and stuff. So I'm going to let power off. I'm going to go ahead and hook this thing up for a cooking test. I think that was our big problem right there. So it just would go into protect because this was dead shorted. It was pulling down the secondary circuit and would not work. And so, hey, I'll take an easier fix any day of the week. Like I said, I'm going to cook this on there, and this one might be done. So, super close to 1,000 subscribers if I ain't busted it by the time this video actually makes it posted. Thank you so much, everybody. That is going to be so cool. If I'm understanding it right, it unlocks a feature where I can pre-broadcast that I'm going to have a live stream at a certain time, which is I don't know why, or maybe I haven't figured it out because remember, I'm a goober. But I think that's what it does, and that will make it so much easier for me to set up, because it seems like right now when I try to set up the live stream stuff, it just instantly goes live, and I'm like, oh, you know, so you got to really be prepped and ready to go. That didn't give anybody a chance to get them a drink and find them a comfy spot to come watch and converse or give them any warning. And so I'm hoping that when that unlocks, I'll be able to do some more live streams, and that'll be a better feature, and it'll be easier for me, and it'll make it where you guys will know it's coming in a few hours or an hour or something like that, and give you time. So that's the big, huge thing that I'm hoping all gets worked out. If you know YouTube and I've got it all wrong, put it in the comments. And like I said, I appreciate you all. Hope you learned a little something with the neat little trick there on fixing the on finding a shorted op amp that's overheating. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Like, comment, subscribe. You know, have your grandma subscribe, your dog sitter, all that good stuff. You know, we're trying to get over 1,000, and I'm trying to see if I can do something fun for the 1,000 videos. So thanks again. Have a good one.